I've often said that to be truly powerful, a person needs two fundamental ingredients: a genuine understanding of the world and the resources to shape it. Without these, power becomes fragile, shallow, and short-lived. In the last video, I spoke about the importance of these two elements, but I left one crucial question unanswered. How exactly do we develop a deeper understanding of the world? That's what I want to explore today. This, I believe, is one of the most important ideas you could ever learn. Because it doesn't just shape how you think. It reshapes how you see everything around you. And the key lies in an ancient but timeless concept: thinking from first principles. What are first principles? First principles are the fundamental building blocks of an idea. Imagine them as the raw atoms of thought, the simplest, most indivisible truths that we know. Once we identify these truths, we can then stack them, combine them, and use them to build more complex systems of thought. At first, this might sound abstract or overly philosophical. But throughout history, some of the greatest minds have used first principles thinking as the foundation of their genius. Take Aristotle, for example. He believed that every subject could be divided into categories and subcategories, and at the root of each subject lay a first principle, a truth that could not be reduced further. Unlike philosophers who relied only on logic, Aristotle was an empiricist. He looked directly at the world. He dissected animals, studied plants, and observed nature. From those experiences, he used reason to organize what he had learned. This cycle experience feeding into reasoning, and reasoning organizing experience allowed him to create structured knowledge rooted in truth. To Aristotle, without understanding first principles, true knowledge was impossible. Knowledge as a tree. To make this idea more vivid, imagine knowledge as a tree. Most people are content with the fruit, the visible results. They see the apple, they describe it, they admire its color, maybe even taste it, and then move on. But they never ask, where did this fruit come from? A first principles thinker, on the other hand, goes deeper. They see that the apple comes from a branch, which is connected to the trunk, which is rooted in the soil. They don't just stop at the surface, they explore the structure that produces the fruit. The difference between the two thinkers is profound. The conventional thinker is like someone at a party who recites facts without context, without understanding the deeper why behind them. The unconventional thinker, however, builds entire trees of knowledge. They trace ideas back to their roots, build upward, and understand the connections between roots, trunk, branches, and fruit. And just like a tree with healthy roots produces strong fruit, ideas built on solid first principles are far more likely to be true, useful, and long-lasting. An everyday example. Let's take something simple. Writing an essay. A finished essay is like the ripe fruit. It's polished, complete, and can be consumed by the reader. But producing a great essay requires much more than just sitting down and typing. It requires mastery of the fundamentals. If you break it down, an essay is made of paragraphs. Those paragraphs are made of sentences. Sentences are made of words. And words, of course, are made of letters. When you understand the smallest building blocks, the letters of thought, you can improve each part individually. If the letters are clear, the words will be strong. If the words are strong, the sentences flow. If the sentences flow, the essay becomes remarkable. This is the essence of first principles thinking. Strengthening the foundation so that everything built upon it improves. Why first principles thinking matters. There are many powerful benefits to this way of thinking. It fuels creativity. When you understand the fundamentals, you can rearrange them, combine them, or modify them to create something entirely new. Just like stacking multiple essays together forms a book, combining first principles in new ways leads to innovation. It allows improvement. You can't improve an essay if you don't understand what makes up an essay. You can't improve a sentence if you don't know what words are. By knowing the building blocks, you unlock the ability to refine and elevate each part. It makes learning easier. Once you know your letters, writing words becomes natural. Once you know words, sentences flow. Once you know sentences, entire essays are possible. The complexity of learning collapses when you break it down to its simplest parts. It makes teaching more effective. When you can explain something from the ground up, starting with its first principles, you can teach it to anyone. You'll spot gaps in your own understanding, you'll make the subject easier for others to grasp. How to think in first principles. So how do you become a first principles thinker? The method is simple in concept, but challenging in practice. The key is to build hierarchies. Take a problem or idea and break it down into its smallest possible components. Then, organize those components into a clear structure. Ask yourself why and how over and over until you cannot reduce the problem any further. For example, if you want to understand money, don't stop at money is paper or money is numbers in a bank. Ask, why does money exist? The answer might be, to enable trade. Why do we need trade? Because no one can produce everything on their own. Why can't one person produce everything? Because resources, time, and skills are limited. By asking why repeatedly, you arrive at the root principles: scarcity, value, trust. Once you understand those roots, your perspective on money changes forever. In practice, you can use tools like journaling, diagrams, or mind maps to break complex subjects into manageable building blocks. Knowledge always begins with experience, but true understanding only comes when that experience is organized into a clear structure of fundamentals. The bigger picture. This concludes the mini-series on power. In the first part, I explained that power requires both value and understanding. In this essay, I've shown how first principles thinking can lead us to deeper truths and clearer insights. But there's something else, something less obvious and even dangerous about first principles thinking. Because when you strip away all assumptions, challenge all traditions, and build everything from the ground up, you often find yourself standing apart from the crowd. And that is not always an easy place to be. That is the subject of the next video. The danger of being a first principles thinker.